sneaking in my cousin Bernard's room. He had a setup, and in case you didn't know, Philly had the illest DJs back in the day, period. Across the board,
yes.
Cash Money,
baby.
Everybody. Jeff.
Jeff.
But I would always sneak in my cousin's room. He had a setup, two 1200s and a Gemini mixer, the gray one with the LEDs, left and right, juice, you know what I'm talking about. But I would always sneak in there and try to scratch, because I was coming from Savannah. I would hear scratching and, you know, see DST from Rocket in the video and everything, but I I couldn't afford the equipment. My mother couldn't afford it, so I had like BSR turntable, Fisher Price turntable, any kind of turntable that I could get my hands on. I had the one that's like the TV with the turntable inside. You lift it up.
Yeah,
that was my set. And a volume knob. So I was doing that in Savannah. So I got to the family reunion, and my cousin Bernard had the full setup. So I went bananas. So every time they would leave the house, I would sneak inside his room. He had a lock on it, but I learned how to pick it real quick. But he would come in and punch me out every time, but I was diligent, and I kept going, went back to Savannah, got my hands on a secondhand Marantz turntable, had about $1.25 on the needle for anti-skip. Trying to get it, man, trying to get it. It stayed there though. You know, it was this heavy, broke the needle, and I stayed in it, and I was on a receiver volume knob in the turntable, couldn't afford a mixer. So started doing parties, got up to, I bought a mixer, more parties, got a secondhand turntable, Flim Flam the pawn shop guy, because the main guy wasn't there that day, so me and my partner David, who was an old school homie of mine, he talked to the guy, I talked to the guy, because I didn't have the heart to do it. I talked to the guy, David switched the tags. So Technics 1200, I got it for like 75 bucks. It was like 375 bucks. But the guy was a fill-in for the day. So I had my first 1200. And from there it was on. You know, I just started listening to Flash, listening to Mixmaster Ice, Mantronic, listening to Terminator X, listening to Jazzy Jeff, everybody. And I was just engulfed in it. And I wouldn't stop until I had it halfway down with basic scratches, those, and everything just progressed after that. Started jumping into battles, and I don't know, man, everything else was a blur, but that's my start.
So, you mentioned Flash. He has to be not just a main influence of yours, but anyone basically behind turntables. Talk about his legacy, because he's in a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Talk about him a little bit.
Grandmaster Flash, I bought the records. I put the records on the, on the wall. I taped them to the wall. I listened to the tapes over and over until they popped. I re-recorded them again. I played, pause, play, pause, all the scratches. I was Grandmaster Flash. For a good 8 years, I was Grandmaster Flash, straight up. And you couldn't tell me anything. Hat backwards and everything. Everything but the leather suit. So, and I don't know, man, I just kept, in the mornings, they heard Grandmaster Flash, Public Enemy. After school, they heard Grandmaster Flash, Public Enemy. At night, they heard Grandmaster Flash, Public Enemy. My sisters and my brother is who I'm speaking of, until they hated me, basically. And he's just a very, very pivotal person in DJing in my life that I listen to all the time. And it went from Flash to Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money and Mixmaster Ice, and I just lined them up basically based on styles, because Flash sounded different than Jazzy Jeff, Jazzy D sounded different than Jazzy Jeff sounded different than Jam Master Jay, rest in peace, who's also very important, me coming up learning, and I just lined them up. Every DJ that had a different style, I was always trying to figure out how in the hell are they doing that scratch? How the hell are they doing this mix? How is this being done? And but Flash was the first one. Yeah. Flash was definitely the first.
So when do you feel like you personally get your own style? You're talking about really finding licks and almost imitation, to the point where imitation then becomes influence, and then influence ultimately becomes your own style. Is that the time when you basically come into Public Enemy and actually start to tour with them?
Well, everyone says everything about biting, but everybody bites. When you learn you're biting. I don't care who you are or what the deal is. You're biting. You're getting inspiration and influence from something. It's what you do when you get to your own that matters. If you bite here and you take it all the way up and you DJ so-and-so from the block and I'm still sounding like so-and-so, then you really aren't doing nothing but just taking someone else's style and walking it along. Now if you take inspiration from here or influence or even bite from here, then you take it further than they took it, then that's a whole other thing. You add into the art form. You give respect where it's due. You don't get here and think, oh, I came up with this style because I, tripped on a rock and bumped my head. You give respect where it's due, and yeah, it's my influence, and I took it further, respect due, and now I'm on my journey.
And where is that journey now? What are you doing with the group? You're touring with them all the time?
Yeah, pretty much non-stop. I just got back from Australia, which is why I'm on jet lag and stuttering now. Solo tour, Raising Hell tour, and I mean, hip-hop's my foundation, but I spin dubstep, I'm producing dubstep, electro, D&B with my partners Hulk, touring with Public Enemy, recording with Public Enemy, touring solo, recording solo. So it's endless. And with the digital age now versus carrying a big crate of records, you can now have interface, Serato, Tractor, and instead of having a whole stage full of records to travel with, an airline special you never had with fees, you could travel with a USB or external hard drive on your computer, and have Serato will travel.
Has the computer, has technology, the new technology dramatically influenced your style and your manner by which you approach your instrument?
It has. It's limitless now. You got triggerers, you got loops, you got samples on the fly. It's a gift and a curse, really, because a lot of DJs, celebrity DJs, you got Paris Hilton as a DJ now. Yeah, it's like it's a gift and a curse because individuals who paid their dues and carried the crates and got all diesel from carrying records are now rejoice now because they know that history and they came up in that blood, sweat, and tear era. But there's individuals who just have a friend of a friend of a friend who's kind of like sounding maybe like a DJ and it's bringing them aboard, and because you have a gazillion songs on your hard drive, everyone's a DJ now. Posers, most of the stuff is pre-recorded. I'll stop.
Well, it's not just a problem with DJs, it's a problem with music. I mean, anyone can be a musician now, and that's great. It sounds like we've opened it up. Everyone's free to be his or her own musician, own star. But yet, let's face it, there are people with talent, and there's some people with less talent, some people with no talent, and everyone now has access to it. Do you think then what it does is it just basically diminishes the importance of the music because there's so much, if you will, kind of mediocre stuff out there?
Yeah, it's definitely oversaturation. I'm not trying to diss anyone's creativity or not allow certain people to play, but certain people shouldn't be allowed to play. It's like,
keep it 100.
You can't play football, you didn't get on the team when you were younger. It's like, I pick you and you're like sitting there like, you had to go get better. You had to go and get better. Come back and you play football on the west side of town, but on the east side, you're that cat that's going to get picked last, And that's just law. I don't care where you are, what the deal is, or who you roll with, or how many goons you have, or friends, or how much money you have, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So.
Well, we would like at some point when you're not jet lagged and you got a few days off here in LA to come back and do some demonstrations for us. We'd like to bring a bunch of kids in here and basically learn from the wisdom that you have here, because you're articulate in what you say. You've spanned pretty significant part of this history here, and it would be great to have you back. So thank you for today. DJ Lord!
Thank you.